Conservatives weren't the only ones targeted by the IRS. Now a new wave of controversy and more outrage. CNN's chief congressional correspondent Dana Bash has the details.
In these newly revealed IRS memos, terms used to screen liberal groups, progressive, medical marijuana, even blue, as in blue states, hardly words targeting Tea Party conservatives. Democrat Sander Levin is lashing out at the IRS Inspector General for leaving that out of his explosive report last month.
It was a serious mistake, and I think the Republicans took advantage of that by claiming that there was some kind of an enemies list of the White House.
What's worse, says Levin, the IRS IG was asked last month about so-called be on the lookout memos or BOLOs for liberals. He wouldn't answer.
I'm not in a position to give you a definitive response on that question at this time, Mr. Issa.
The IG report did detail how many groups labeled Tea Party, 9/12, or Patriots were targeted. Liberal groups, it seems, were folded in here. 202 other terms.
He failed to indicate that liberal groups were among the 202.
An Inspector General spokesman responded that he focused on conservatives because that's what the Republican-led committee asked him to do. As for Republicans, they're pushing back on the notion that progressives were targeted the way Tea Party groups were.
They continued as usual through the process, while conservative groups were stopped in their tracks.
But what about the big question, whether IRS targeting was politically motivated? Darrell Issa says this.
I've never said it came out of the office of the president or his campaign. What I've said is it comes out of Washington.
But then this.
Do you think, based on what you know now, that the White House simply was not involved, that the Obama political team was not involved?
For years, the president bashed the Tea Party groups. He was very public against these groups. And on his behalf, perhaps not on his request, on his behalf, the IRS executed a delaying tactic against the very groups that he talked about.
But do you have evidence of that based on the interviews that you've done, or are you making an assumption?
Dana, you cannot close a case. You can never close a case on what you don't know. You can only close a case on what you do know.
Translation, Issa and many of his fellow Republicans are not publicly letting the president and his aides off the hook on this. They say they're not going to do that until they've finished their investigation, and GOP sources will say that they are just in the opening stages of that investigation. As for Democrats, they actually say they want to continue this probe, too. Of course, not because they think that there is anything political, because they say that they really do worry about IRS mismanagement, and they want to fix that troubled agency.
The story clearly continuing. Dana, thanks very much.